days we are hearing a lot of questions about breaking India forces, a lot in the social media also. What are these forces? What are their agenda and what do they mean?
This breaking India forces, which is now called BI movement, is a reality. And it is happening not only within India, it is being orchestrated from outside India. People may say this is a huge conspiracy hoax, but from my observations, I think there's a lot of reality behind this suspicion or fear of breaking India. This breaking India movement is not new. It has been going on below the surface for many years. Now it has come up to the surface and we are facing or encountering a very difficult and complex reality. It is based on a multiplicity of narratives which have been built up for more than 200 years about India, India's civilization and origins, the Aryans, their invasion. All these things have been taken into account, have been manipulated to create certain narratives. Number one, I want to deal with the fact we have been told that the Aryan is a race and they came to the subcontinent around 3,500 years ago from Central Asia, Asia Minor. And when they came, this community of people who are called Aryans, they were indigenous native people here in the subcontinent. I am saying subcontinent intentionally. It is not India that we know today. There were many people like the tribals and the Dravids. They had been kicked out, defeated in wars and battles, and kicked out and pushed down south. And then the Aryans settled down in the northern and northwestern part of India or the subcontinent. They created cities and towns and villages and a very flourishing culture and civilization. They started writing Vedas, Upanishads, Puranas, Smritis, epics and all these things. But also they mixed with the local people and they got corrupted. So after 3,300 years, it was time for the Europeans to come because they are the new Aryans. They recognized that their cousin forefathers had come to educate, to enlighten the subcontinent, and now that light was going out, so it was again turn for them to come and give us the light. That is the story. In one word, all this is total trash, total garbage, total rubbish. First of all, let us deal with this topic of race. Is Aryan a race? No. So what is Aryan? Where do we find the word Aryan in our old scriptures? We find it as a address, respectful address. It comes from the Sanskrit term Arya or Arya. Arya for respectable noble men and Arya for respectable noble ladies, women. Like we say, sir, please have a seat, tell us something about your life. In the same way, the sir at that time was Arya. He said, dear lady, we are so happy you have come. At that time, that lady, dear lady, respectful address was Arya. We see that during Buddha's time, Buddha had preached the 4 noble truths, which is called the Arya Satya. Now, Buddha is supposed to be against the caste system. He is supposed to be against the Brahmanical society. So, why would he say Arya Satya if Arya is supposed to be a race? who had driven out the Dravid from north and pushed them into the south. So Arya did not mean a race. Arya is just a refined expression for people who are of sophisticated aristocratic ways of life. That doesn't mean sophistication or aristocration in the sense of luxury, in the sense of lifestyle, in the sense of thought, in the sense of philosophical leanings. Maybe Arya could be a great king, also he could be a great rishi, or he could be a great professor or a great teacher. Rishi Aurobindo has said that the Aryans or the Arya were the bearers of light. Those people who worshipped the rising sun, who worshipped the fire as a symbol of the sun on the earth, and consequently, subsequently, they welcome new ideas, new thoughts, new ideas, anything that is going to enrich their culture, their philosophical and theological journey of life. Any person who incorporates their lifestyle is an Arya. Any person who does not incorporate that lifestyle is not an Arya. No problem there. It's not that I can be a born Arya. No, if I incorporate that lifestyle, maybe my parents are Arya in the background and culture and everything, but I do certain things which are non-Aryan in nature. And it has got nothing to do with believing in God or not believing in God. It has got nothing to do with believing in the sun being the main God or the main Deva and the fire being the subsequent. No, that is not the point. The point is, if I believe that new ideas are welcome, new thoughts are welcome, then I am Aryan in culture. If I believe that whatever had been said 2000 years ago is the ultimate truth and nothing can change, it cannot evolve, then I am not an Aryan. In India and in this subcontinent, we have the ritual that we usually eat with the right hand. We don't eat with the left hand. Now, if I start eating with the left hand, no problem. No police will come and catch you. But then that is a non-Aryan culture. That doesn't mean it is bad. It is his way of doing things. So it is called a mlechha concept, a non-Aryan concept. You see? So Aryan is basically a lifestyle. It is not a race. So who first thought about this idea that the Aryan is a race? And who first thought that Aryans came from outside, invaded India 3,500 years ago? It was the Europeans. When they started coming to India, it is not only the British who came to India. The Portuguese came, the Dutch people came, French came, many people, they came to India. And after they started doing business here, slowly that business turned into looting, plundering, killing, raping. Then they started to come with their religion, with the cross and the Bible. Then they started imposing their political will on the people of the subcontinent. Now, the point is that they had to somehow justify these colonial tendencies that they had. Why were they traveling all the way from Europe by ship, coming all the way to India, taking so much risks and spreading around and slowly occupying the whole territory? So how would you justify that? You would have to justify that by saying, we have come here for their own good. Poor people, look, they are wallowing in darkness. They are barbaric. They are burning their widows. They are dropping their girl child into the sea. full of untouchability. They have to create these stories. But then who are we? Why are we so bothered? We Europeans, why are we so bothered? Because we belong to this place. How do you know you belong to this place? Because the German scholars and researchers are finding out that these people, they are Aryans. And the Aryans came from outside, and it is we who actually came. Our forefathers, cousin forefathers. Not because at that time Europe was nothing really. So they could not say that we came from Europe. So they had to say Central Asia and Asia Minor anyway. They realized when they were studying our scriptures and our documents that this is a very old civilization. And it has gone through many periods and phases of evolution. So they felt that somehow we have to create a narrative. Otherwise, we don't have any place in this history. So they had to find an identity for themselves also from these scriptures. They also noticed a lot of similarities between Sanskrit, Latin, Greek and all these languages, European languages, Old German. So they created an Indo-European language family and placed Sanskrit as a sister language instead of it being the mother language, as if it's a whole Indo-European language family from which one of the derivatives was Sanskrit. All this they did to prove that they were more advanced 3,500 years ago. And they had come, and they are the ones who had given us all these Vedas and Upanishads and all this. You see, next thing that they did was they created a racial profile, race profile. And they discovered more than 2,800 races in the subcontinent. Based on what? Based on the shape of the nose. According to the shape of the nose, they created these, not caste, race profiles. Or so many races have come from different places, intermingled, got corrupted, and completely disintegrated culturally, educationally, lot of things. So all this narrative, and then when Mohenjo-daro and Harappan sites were discovered by a Bengali, in fact, Rakhal Das Banerjee, who was working for the Archaeological Survey of India, they elaborated on this story. That again, it was probably a Dravid civilization or a tribal civilization which the Aryans came and they defeated and they threw the people out of those cities. So it was again another that flourishing urban life on the banks of a river was a sign of the glorious Aryans who came from outside. So they created these narratives and they stole all our documents. Either they destroyed our documents or they stole all our documents and kept it in their own archives. The Germans too were the ones who carried this narrative the most because they needed desperately an identity for themselves. The British could boast about the empire, the French, the Italians, they could boast about the Renaissance period, the revolution. Germans had nothing to boast about. So they had to find this Aryan connection, that they were the great Aryans. And from that Aryan ideology, that German Aryan ideology, they created their story about this higher race that they are going to create, and they are going to destroy the Jews in order to carry the race forward to new heights of progress or human progress. They completely ignored the philosophical side of the Vedas and the Upanishads. They rejected it. Why? Why did the Europeans completely reject? Not only the Germans, the other Europeans too reject the philosophical side? Because they realized that it was a much older, a much wiser, a much greater philosophy than what they had been learning all these years. And why 3,500 years? That is also very important. Why not more? Why not 6,000 years? Why not 7,000 years? When they're creating a story, they could put any date, no problem. Firstly, because according to them, according to the Semitic religions, the world was created 4,004 years before Jesus was born. That is, from today, only 6,000 years before, the whole world was created in 7 days. Now you know the story. After 2,000 years, a great flood happened. The whole world was destroyed except for Noah, his family, and species of animals. So after that, whatever happened around the world are descendants of Noah. 2,000 years after the great beginning, that is only 2,000 years before Jesus. So what is the mathematics? So if somebody had to come to India, it could not be much further than 3,500, you see. That's why they had to create this story. But actually now scientists and everybody knows that all this theory about 7-day creation and 4,400 years before Jesus is all crap. Now everybody knows that the human civilization has been around for more than 40 to 50,000 years. Neanderthals, Homo sapiens were there, and we know that. And from 1999, genetic studies have revealed, the genetic maps have revealed our evolution. That we as a human species, we have evolved, we have spread out, the non-African human species from this subcontinent, from India, for 50, 40, 30,000 years. Genetic mapping clearly shows that there have been no major migrations from outside to inside. In fact, there have been major migrations from within to outside. That means all the great civilizations in the world are indebted to the civilization of this subcontinent, which we call the Indian civilization. It has got nothing to do with the Aryan civilization. So that is the main problem, that narrative is now being threatened, is now facing a serious challenge. One, that Aryan is a race. All discoveries in the last few decades, it's not something that's happening in the last 2 years, last few decades, have proved beyond a shadow of doubt that there is no such race as called Aryan race, and that we are all one genetic family. So this story about the Aryan identity, the Dravid identity, the Dalit identity, the Islamic identity, the Northeastern identity, all these stories are being created, have been created to put us in an atmosphere of discord and conflict with each other. You see? And number two, this Aryan invasion theory is also being seriously disproved now. In fact, modern scientists and researchers are saying now there is no controversy anymore. For many years there was controversy. Did actually Aryans come from outside or no? There was no controversy. Now there is no controversy. Now we know Aryans did not come from outside. Now we know that there are no Aryans. There is nobody like Aryan, like he's a Brahmin, he's an Aryan. That kind of thing is not there. Or he's a Hindu, he's a Muslim, and that man is an Aryan. No, that is not there. Now we know that nobody had come to this subcontinent from outside. So the fact that we know, and yet we are reading in the history books still all these lies, and there is a serious resistance against it. People are saying, so why are we still reading this stuff in our history books? Why are our children being told lies? So there is an effort from various lobbies to change the syllabuses, to change our history books, to change the narrative, to tell the truth about what the Europeans had done here. That includes the truth of what narratives the Europeans intentionally created to destroy us. It includes history should include how history is written by the victors. You see, since the old narrative is now under great threat, it is now on the verge of collapse, it's on the verge of disintegration. That is why there are forces within India who are trying to stop that, who are trying to stop the truth from emerging. You see? And they are being financed, regulated, monitored, governed by various sources from outside, which includes the extreme right and the extreme left and different fundamentalist groups. So, this India, the integrity of India can be broken into different fragments. Northeast, Chhattisgarh, the mining area, the tribals, through the Maoists, then this Dravid, oppressed by the Aryans, all these stories. Dravids and Dalits are being united superficially, and they are talking about a Ravanization concept as against the Rama concept, Ramization versus Ravanization concept. All these things, and of course the Islamic fundamentalist groups are there. You know, already the country has been divided when the British left based on religion. Many parts have been broken up into pieces, and now they are trying to divide more, not only to weaken India, but to stop from the truth from emerging, so that the narrative that they had created remain. That's the reason.